Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video of Fox Flicks on Josh Scorcher. First off, I want to say a merry late Christmas to all of you out there. Thank you so much for joining me this year, for all my videos, everything that's been going on. Thank you for subscribing, watching, and all that. Now, let's check out the top 10 overshadowed final bosses. So that was actually cool, is if just like Christmas itself, he had like an ice intro instead of the fire. It would be strange to see, but it's just a suggestion. I mean, there's a doubt that he's even gonna see this.
You know, after going through a large game, seeking all there is to do, and engulfing yourself in the story and characters, all you want to do is finish it strong with a great final battle and ending. That is, until you get to said final boss and realize that the fight before it, or fight earlier in the game, was so good, it makes the final boss suck in comparison. Or that the final boss was so bad or boring that
really
you think of an earlier boss with fonder memories. While said final boss may leave feelings of disappointment, we can still look back on the bosses that were great and did their best to overshadow the true villain that would lie at the end of the game. But then we realize it was the second in command all along, and that the true evil was right here. Yeah, insert JRPG cliche number 57 here. Rules are pretty simple this time around. The better the earlier boss and the worse the final boss, the higher they rank. Extra points, the closer the boss is to the final boss. We're also trying to rank penultimate bosses over post-game bosses. While we do have a case or two where a super boss overshadows the final, some post-game bosses you can still somewhat count as a true final boss, like Arceus in Legends Arceus.
That being said, let's get ready to see some great penultimate bosses and some disappointing final bosses. Wait.
Oh, we got an ad first. Let's go. Number 10.
Josh, it's time to talk about Kingdom Hearts.
Oh boy.
358 days.
Wait, what?
I don't think I'm being controversial when I say that Days is one of the weaker games in the series. While the story is decent, the gameplay is incredibly bland and repetitive. I may or may not have done a whole video on how I would fix it. With that said, I am willing to admit that it did some stuff right. Namely, the battle against Xion.
Who?
Alongside Axel, Xion became Roxas' closest friend throughout the story. Unfortunately for the trio, Xion is nothing more than a vessel created to house Sora's memories and keep him from waking up. Her coming to terms with this and struggling with it is her main arc throughout the game. Finally accepting her purpose, Xion asks Roxas to be the one to take her life. This takes the form of a huge multi-stage boss fight as you fight Xion's armored form across the worlds you've journeyed through. And all of that is merely a warm-up to her final form, a battle near the iconic clock tower.
Well,
and as far as the boss fights go in Days, this one's not too bad. While there's still the overinflated HP, Xion's attacks feel fair, and you're given enough time to retaliate. All this alongside one of the most underrated tracks in the entire franchise. I don't know how they got this to work on the DS, but I am not complaining.
I'll let the all say then I'm impressed by them being able to get it done.
Of course, this isn't the last boss. Afterwards, Roxas vows to single-handedly take down the organization. Riku, needing to save Sora, has no choice but to stand in his way. And remember, this is a fight that's been built up to since the very first game in the series, with the secret movie teasing an absolutely epic confrontation. And it's... Okay. The music's decent, if not exclusive to this fight. And Riku is intelligent enough. The only real problem is that the fight really isn't all that challenging. With this in mind, I can't really rank this higher since neither Xion nor Riku's battles are particularly outstanding in either way. The former is held back by excessive forms, while the latter is perfectly competent with no huge flaws. It's not bad, it's just not as emotionally charged as the previous fight.
There, I said something nice about Days, you happy?
I don't care, because I don't know anything of Kingdom Hearts. On to number 9.
As the central hub in Bloodborne, the Hunter's Dream is arguably the safest area in the whole game. You can buy items and upgrade weapons here, and get some friendly advice from Gehrman, the first hunter. However, there's a grim reality hanging over this paradise. It's a literal dream brought to life by Gehrman and the Moon Presence, one of the Great Ones. However, Gehrman is bound to the dream forever, and it weighs heavily on him.
Wait, is he a boss you can fight?
However, he's more concerned about the current hunter, that's us, getting out of this dream and finding the peace he's been denied for so long. And the only way to do that is... decapitation! We let him do that. Afterwards, we're sent back into the waking world and everything's right. But if we don't, then get ready to possibly tango with the two beings that brought this whole mess to life. Both Gehrman and Moon Presence.
Oh, shit.
So yeah, as you can tell, Gehrman's an optional boss, if anything, depending on the player's choice. Since a lot of people are likely to reject Gehrman's offer, he's technically the final boss of the game. However, the true final boss is Moon Presence, and yet it's a secret final boss.
Okay, there we go.
Only unlocked by collecting the 3 umbilical.
Okay, hold on. Gonna pause, let it load, and be right back. I think we're good now.
Cords. If you think that's overly disturbing, hi, welcome to Bloodborne. Don't get whacked by placenta.
I'm sorry, what?
No, yeah, that's literally what it is.
For the cost. Top to DLC bosses. Now, Moon Presence is the one with the tight grip over the dream and Gehrman himself. And yet Gehrman is the more interesting of the two. Let's do a quick little comparison, shall we? Gehrman has been a constant throughout Bloodborne, the one who gave the player their first goal and sits at the only safe haven of the game. He's not a malicious guy, he's a broken old soul who just wants to set us free. In return, we grant him his freedom. So really it's a tug-of-war of no you between two guys who just want to save the other. Weirdly wholesome if you think about it.
Yeah, not
bad. And if you do fight him, gosh dang it, his reveal cutscene is one of the best in the franchise.
Okay,
building up to one of the best boss fights in the game and series.
Tonight, Gehrman joins the hunt.
Awesome.
He's been in that wheelchair throughout the whole game, but the minute he stands up, you're as good as dead. He's quick and nimble.
When he needs to be.
And he ain't giving you any time to catch your breath.
Oh, yeah, no,
and with his
clearly
sight,
not.
he carries the aura of a Grim Reaper on the hunt for his latest kill. And the only way you stand even an iota of a chance is to match his pacing and try to match his aggressiveness, or you're just another hunting trophy. Now with Moon Presence,
speed.
I don't know. Its lore is interesting, if not vague, but there's like no build up to it. Plus, its design's a little generic compared to the other monsters we faced. More like a Dementor who lost its cloak.
Just so the folks at home
That makes
remember,
sense.
we've had a fetus that used its own placenta as a weapon. Also, we've had a toxic boss that used its own skin as a snuggie.
Oh my god.
Why are any of these two the final boss?
Adding to it, its health is tiny compared to the others, and its moveset is just basic beastly attacks. Like, if it gets results, great, but it's not really something to brag about. Plus, his biggest move is an AoE attack that sets the player down to 1 HP.
Oh, shit.
But then it just sits there and gives you time to easily pop blood vials to heal with no risk.
That's
or
good.
simply hit it and get your health back while dealing damage.
Oh,
Seriously,
yeah.
its
Well,
ultimate
either
move
way,
hurts
you get
it
health
more than
back
you.
at least.
But hey, you kill the Lovecraftian skeleton, you become the next great one, and Gehrman is finally set free. So, happy ending? I guess? I don't know, it doesn't feel as satisfying when taking out a broken old man feels more exciting than slaying a big bad eldritch deity.
It's like killing Zog to become Zog. Oh, wait. We're back. Deal with number 8.
So, Wallace. Not that he's a bad
we're talking about
trainer. I mean, as
Pokemon
far
now.
as water-type bosses go, he's as adequate and challenging as they come. It's just that for how much the Gen 3 games have been building up Steven as the more plot-relevant character, it's so much more enticing to fight him as the champion. So when Wallace gets moved up to champion status in Emerald, and in his place comes an even more foppish Fishman, it doesn't feel earned. Okay, first, let's look at why Steven works better. The man appears a fair amount of time in the game to guide you and has a team that mixes between rock, steel, and ground. There's a lot more variety to Steven's presence and a team that leaves a stronger impact as a champion. It helps that his curious and explorative nature would go on to inspire series greats like Cynthia and Kukui to follow in his footsteps. Wallace, on the other hand, has very little presence in the games. He only starts appearing during the Cave of Origin part of the story and occasionally participates in Pokemon contests. That's unique. While this does make him an interesting gym leader, as a champion, he really sucks.
At
least in
celebrities
Steven
being
became
champions
champion
just
again.
doesn't work as well as they should.
Granted, he does have a really sturdy water team with a handful of type and status coverages at hand. He's challenging as a champion should be, but okay, come on. Having a water type boss on top of another water type boss, plus an ice boss whose moveset is half water beforehand, just takes away a lot of the impact Wallace could have had as a trainer of his own flair and caliber.
It's really bad that I'm starting to think that IGN was onto something.
On the bright side, you can still fight Steven and Emerald after you beat the Pokemon League, and his team is just as solid as ever with Skarmory, Metagross, and Cradily being nightmare fuels as always. Still can't shake losing the champion theme that's rightfully his though. Bottom line, if you're gonna make Wallace the champion, give us a good reason to be excited about it. Make him appear more in the game. Have a different
More
8th gym, and maybe give him some kind of dynamic with other characters like Wally or your opposite gender rivals to make the confrontation feel more personal. As he stands, I'm afraid this water sport will continue to stay under Stone's shadow.
Number 7.
I already mentioned this in my favorite characters list, but many of you may be shocked to learn that Joker isn't my favorite Batman villain.
Why, that's an outrage!
I mean,
Insult!
Don't get me wrong, he's a
he doesn't
great
have
villain.
to be
He's an
everyone's favorite.
amazing
he's not
villain.
mine.
And in the Arkham
He's
series
great,
is
but
especially
he's not
great.
mine.
At least 3/4 of the time. He's also the final main boss for 3 of the 4 games, Asylum, Origins, and Night. Of those 3, I would say that Night had the best final Joker fight. It really cements that the clown's time is over, and with him gone, the world can finally heal. And that moment where he pathetically reaches out to Batman is actually kind of heart-wrenching. But as for Asylum and Origins, I really don't like to break my 1 entry per franchise rule, but I couldn't let this one slide. Joker's the last baddie for both these games, and yet he got overshadowed twice by the preliminary rounds, Poison Ivy and Bane, respectively. I'll give Asylum brief since I already got into detail about my feelings on both fights, but honestly, Poison Ivy's fight was the one I remember the most from that game, partly because it feels perfectly in character for her. She's fighting the bat with a giant plant monster. She's got an army of love-struck, brainwashed cops wrapped around her green thumb. It perfectly captures everything about her.
It's literally Ivy.
Joker's fight feels completely wrong. He intentionally bulks himself up to fight Batman, even though he never needed or wanted to before, and he got his butt handed to him because he was ready for his close-up, Mr. DeVille. I already said that there was a way that this fight could have worked, like if Joker didn't do this on purpose, but Harley did it to him, which had a greater sense of tragedy to Arkham City, knowing that she had a hand in killing her beloved Mr. J. But as it stands,
that would have actually been a great idea for them to do.
As for Origins, don't get me wrong, Joker's role in Origins was great, but we just finished 2 powerhouse games about him, and here he is again, still in the spotlight from the original main conflict of the game. Remember Black Masks? His 8 assassins? Remember those guys? Once Joker hijacks the focus, Black Mask is just completely forgotten. And only 5 of the assassins actually mattered in the main storyline. The other 3 were just reduced to side missions or...
Well, not even that. Literally, 1 kick and he's down. He sucked. We're back on this nobody who I don't even remember the name of. Pathetic.
Okay, I actually don't mind that one.
But the semi-final fight against Bane, very nicely done. He's backed the bat into a corner where the Dark Knight may have no choice but to break his own no-killing rule. Not only that, Bane's a tank, but he's a speedy tank.
Damn.
Thankfully, Bats manages to temporarily take him down in a pretty clever way, actually. But that was just round 1. In phase 2, Bane's made himself so powerful that taking him head-on would be suicide. Your only chance is to hide, wait until he wears himself out, and strike before finally tangling him up. Already, this is a major step up from Bane's fight in Asylum. Yeah, he's pretty tough there too, but doesn't feel very special and doesn't do that
Titan
character
boss
that much
fight.
justice. Whereas here, the stakes feel really high in this brawl. Bane has been a legitimate threat throughout the whole game. He figured out Batman's identity and invaded his home and nearly killed Alfred. Bane earned his title as the man who broke Batman in so many ways here.
Beg for mercy! Scream my name!
Origins reminded us that Bane isn't just a muscle-bound
How
juggernaut.
did Bane
He's a
break the
muscle-bound
bat?
juggernaut who can
He
hold
literally
all the
broke
cards.
the bat
And I'm
with a
sorry,
knee
that's
slam.
a bit more interesting than
Right
Joker
to
just
the
giving
spine.
another "we're not so different" speech. Irony is a lovely beast. Joker overshadows everyone in Batman's rogues gallery, and yet these second-to-last boss fights blow his little scrapes away.
Well, you gotta sometimes just give it to the other villains. Number 6.
Metroid Prime Trilogy, the franchise's first big step into the world of 3D gaming, and arguably one of the best. Part of that is thanks to the overarching threat that they've been building up through all 3 games, Dark Samus. Debuting at the end of the first game, she's been a looming presence throughout the trilogy. She's mysterious, cruel, and on par with the original Samus in every sense. Even when she disintegrates in the second game, she just shrugs it off and makes a comeback as the ultimate big bad of Metroid Prime 3. Yet, would you believe she's just the penultimate fight? Oh boy, if she's just the opening act, I'm excited to see who our headliner's gonna be.
What the hell is that?
That is a giant alien popsicle. 3 games of buildup for a giant alien space popsicle.
I can almost taste it.
That is hilarious.
Okay, I should probably explain. This is actually the Aurora Unit 313, an organic supercomputer hijacked by Dark Samus to further her goals of infecting the universe with Phazon and empowering herself even further. After we wipe the floor with Dark Samus, she fuses with the unit in one last-ditch effort to swat Samus away. I mean, yeah, it's big, and it could summon Samus clones to take a bite of your health, but just look at this thing. One thing that Metroid franchise can boast about is how intricate it can get with its final boss designs. But this, I know I'm repeating myself, but it's a freaking popsicle!
Actually,
How do
it
you
does
expect
look
me
like
to
a
be scared
brain on a
of this
spinal
when you've just been
cord.
busy running from this for 2.5 games? I'd argue Dark Samus is a bigger threat before fusing with the suit. At least then she could teleport, pack a punch, and think she can make clones of herself, forcing you to determine which is the real deal. Oh, and the kicker? She didn't feel like a giant stationary target. Between Dark Samus and SAX, the franchise seems to have a knack for devious doppelgangers. So do you really need anything extra? If they turn out like the Aurora unit, probably not.
I mean, if they replaced it, probably would have been better. Let's go.
You know, that's just the catch-22, isn't it? I say that Mario and Luigi Partners in Time is the most under-talked Mario and Luigi game, and yet it's the one I talk about the most.
I mean, Nintendo doesn't talk about it. It's literally done.
While everyone loves
all
raving
the
about
others,
Dark
but
Bowser and
come on.
Cackleta's soul, it's hard not to be impressed with the battle against the Elder Princess Shroob. You have seen hints that the Cobalt Star you've been collecting throughout the game may not be completely what it seems. When Baby Bowser completes the star and you hear Peach's plea, the entire game changes on its head. The realization that you have been manipulated by this alien queen just through the literal collect the divine MacGuffin storyline that Mario games are known for makes some of Fawful's plans seem rudimentary by comparison. The battle itself pushes the bros to their limits. The Elder Princess does everything she can to kill you, launching herself at you, summoning UFOs to drop bombs, transforming into an eldritch abomination even Kirby would do a double take for, and even making her subjects do kamikaze dives to take you out. That last tech alone shows how the Shrooms are beings of pure conquest and destruction. Even the music, which is fantastic, goes into a somber part where even it feels bad for the Shrooms who know nothing but pure destruction. Their bloodlust will make them do anything at this time to kill the bros. My summary of this boss back in Darkest Mario Moments did it best. Nothing matters anymore except this fight. It's just our defenders of peace and justice against one of the greatest evils I've ever seen in a video game. Okay, if that's
Yep.
such a great final fight, why is she here? Well, because she isn't technically the final boss of Partners in Time.
Oh,
For some
yeah.
reason, we always have to end a Mario game
Technically.
with a Bowser fight, and that's where we get an Elder Shroud-possessed Bowser, or Strowser. Yes, we are talking
Strowser?
about and
Really?
counting Strowser. Look, you go into the battle screen, and the credits don't roll until you beat him. He counts. For those that don't know, the
Yeah,
Strowser fight is
okay.
less a battle and more a dodging minigame. Dodge the attacks he's aiming at you, and they will rebound into the Elder Princess Shroud's spirit. Do this enough times, and the spirit will be destroyed. Between the lack of actual combat and the music, which is more light-hearted in comparison to the somber melody we got before, it's really underwhelming. Seriously, it's really annoying that we had to end the game with that battle when the
Yeah,
other games were
I mean,
much
come
better
on.
with their finales. It's made worse with just how good the Elder Princess Shroud fight is. It may not be as tense as Cackletta Soul or as epic as Dark Bowser, but it holds
Oh,
itself
yeah.
well as a great middle
Not
ground
on
between
par
the
with
two.
them,
And the
but
fact that it wasn't the final fight
damn
is an utter
close.
travesty.
Oop, come on. Number 4. Here we are. Who's up next?
Like most 30-year-old franchises,
Oh,
Mega Man
Mega
has a
Man?
handful of spin-offs that deviate from its usual formula. The AUs always seem to have different villains in each installment that gets a fair amount of focus and are usually a big part of the story, rather than being subjected as red herrings
Look,
to
the general.
last-minute twist villains like the original and X games. Speaking of the X games, Command Mission seems like it's following
What's
through with the
this?
former at first, being a spin-off to that series and all. At the
Never
start of the
seen it.
game, we're introduced to Epsilon, the leader of a rebellion army who leads the revolt against Giga City. Epsilon was the subject of an experiment for an upgrade called the Supra Force Metal. While said Force Metal corrupted other Reploids and made them turn maverick, Epsilon was undeterred. He's able to
Okay.
utilize the immense power of the Supra Force Metal and wanted to help other Reploids achieve this as well. Of course, this requires him to chase the people off of Giga City so that he can salvage the resources there. Despite this, he's
Makes sense.
not really a violent
Kinda has to
guy
be done.
and wouldn't actively harm bystanders to get his way. Unlike Sigma, who has the same goal but isn't afraid to purge mankind to achieve it.
Oh yeah,
A
he's like, nuke
well-intentioned
the world.
extremist who doesn't sacrifice
Nuke it,
innocent
click.
people to meet his ends? Oh, now you're really challenging my suspension of disbelief.
Eventually, you corner Epsilon in the penultimate chapter, where Scarface then stands up against the hunters on his behalf. Even after Scarface was defeated, though, Epsilon shows
damn.
no sign of retreating. He'll see to it that no hunter will slow him down from achieving his goal. Epsilon comes with a slew of powerful attacks, such as Fatal Attack, which is a guaranteed crit, Meta Crush, which drags an ally's
Oh,
health
boy.
down to 1, and tons of vicious area attacks like Nova Impact and Ultra Giga Fire, Blizzard, and Thunder. It's a pretty
Damn.
fun and thrilling fight overall, fitting for such a formidable villain. But
that's a
wait,
threat.
we're not in the final chapter, so this isn't the final boss. Well, maybe Epsilon will come back with an upgraded or corrupted form and we'll have an even more climactic rematch with them.
Surprise!
Ah, son of a, really? Another lame
Wait,
twist
who's
villain in a game that doesn't need one? What is with Mega Man and these fuckers? Oh, and if you thought Wily and Sigma were annoying, they are Hitchcock tier compared to Redips. Not only is
Who?
he just another bland power monger, not only do his fights range from obnoxious to stupid easy,
What
not
the-
only does getting to him mean going through a boss rush so infuriating and makes the arc of Yamato seem merciful, but he slaps you with another revelation that completely ruins a former ally character. Yes, I know Reddit spelled backwards is spider, and they did
Oh.
show Spider doing a few
Okay.
sus things throughout the game, but considering he has an established
that's
backstory and code of
something.
character, seeing him get thrown away for this pointless twist is just dumb. It's just dumb. So yeah, in standard anti-climax fashion, we went from an interesting and surprisingly unique antagonist for the series to what's basically a modern Disney baddie. It's even more insulting when
Yeah,
you think we'd
no,
finally
that's
be
funny.
free from having Sigma shoved in our faces, only to get something even worse. Just glad the other
I will
Mega Man
say, that was
AUs
actually a
actually
pretty
have
good looking
villains that stick
design.
with their guns to the end.
Number 3. Don't do an ad. Okay.
I'm going to lick you.
I know most of you were expecting this
Girahim.
duo to be
Yes.
somewhere on the list as soon as you saw the title. It's probably
And
the
the
most obvious
thumbnail.
entry on the list. But even so, everyone and their mother who's ever talked about Skyward Sword has said how disappointing Demise is and how Girahim should have been the final boss. That being said,
definitely.
sometimes cliches are cliches for good reason. Girahim just feels like a final boss should, a true test of all the skills you've gained on your adventure. He tests your mastery of Skyward Sword's sword fighting mechanics. He's been a looming presence in the game since the very start. He's the one who kidnapped Zelda.
dungeon.
He's the one who set Link on the path to becoming a hero by letting him live. He's the one who commands the forces of darkness throughout the game. He's the one who finally succeeds in his mission and frees Demise. This boy deserves an
the
award
Demon
for
King.
going above and beyond the Call of Duty. Demise, on the other hand, while he's talked
loyal
about,
servant.
doesn't really have the presence in the story that Girahim does. And when he finally does show up, he's just a big brute swinging around a sword with appreciable skill. To the point where you can actually beat him without using the ability to catch lightning with your sword against him. I would know.
Wait, how?
I did it because I was too dumb to realize that you could actually catch lightning with the Master Sword. I know Demise is the predecessor of Ganondorf, but does he have to look and play so much like Ganondorf from Twilight Princess? Sure, he doesn't get distracted by a fishing pole, but too bad he still has his crypto
He's so dumb.
Then again,
Wait,
given
the
how silly
bug net?
weaknesses is a finale
Really?
staple for the series,
No way.
maybe Girahim's better off without it.
Oh, well, okay, here's the ad. Let's just go. On to number 2. The penultimate of this list.
When it comes to villains in the Final Fantasy franchise, the two most iconic are easily Kefka from 6 and Sephiroth from 7. With that
Don't even need to play
said,
the
the
game
other
to know
villains
them.
do have their fans, and rightfully so. One of which being Kuja from 9. Now, at first glance, nothing really stands out about Kuja, aside from his, fashion sense.
Equal
Definitely.
opportunity fan service.
Jokes aside, he does his job as a villain pretty decently. He's cunning, manipulative, and always seems to be one step ahead of the party. Though there's still something lacking from him, that little extra ingredient to make him truly memorable. That
What is it?
occurs when he, alongside our heroes, venture into the world of Terra. There, they learn that both Kuja
What
and
the-
Zidane are artificially created beings known as genomes. The whole reason for their existence was to inflict genocide upon the people of
Oh,
Gaia
shit.
and transfer their souls to Terra. This realization completely breaks them. But while Zidane's friends are able to convince him that his life is worth
Oh,
living,
boy.
Kuja ain't so lucky. He's so blindsided by the purpose of his existence and his own mortality that he succumbs to nihilism. In his own words, oh boy, I'm gonna have to... mortal? I'm finished? I
Okay.
don't believe you. Why would I believe such a silly story? You're telling me that I'll die soon. Now that I'm more powerful than anyone, I'm gonna die? Lose my soul?
Oh, yeah, he breaks. Right
what
there.
comedy? Zidane, isn't it hilarious? I'll die just like the black mages I so despise. I single-handedly brought chaos into Gaia, but in the end, I'm nothing but a worthless doll!
Hey, you're not the only one. You're only one of 2.
I won't let it happen. I won't. I won't let this world exist without me! In
And so
response,
he
he
does
destroys
that.
Terra and sets his
Damn.
sights on Gaia. Naturally, the party has to stop him. As for the battle against him, it's about as grand as you'd expect. In addition to epic music, Trance Kuja himself is a formidable opponent. He has some of the most powerful magic in the game and is smart enough to target characters without reflect. His most dangerous attack by far is Flare Star. It inflicts fixed, non-elemental damage to the entire party based on their level. And there's no reflecting it either. Of course, Kuja refuses to accept his loss and wipes out the entire party with Ultima, forcibly ending the battle. But instead of us getting a hyped second form to fight against, this happens. Necron,
What
a
the-
god of death who has never been mentioned in the entire game, comes out of nowhere and takes Kuja's place as the final boss.
Oh, well, that's just
Lame,
tenable.
lame.
I mean, come
Yep,
on.
the guy we've been fighting against for
fighting
most
one
of the
thing,
game gets
and then you're fighting
upstaged
God of
at the
Death.
very last second. Now, to be fair, there are arguments made about why Necron makes sense, at least from a thematic standpoint. As I alluded to earlier, a big theme in 9 is despair. Something we see both Kuja and our heroes struggle with is their own mortality. All throughout Final Fantasy Danganronpa, we see Zidane, Garnet, and Vivi suffer tragedies yet resolve to live their lives in the face of them. Therefore, Necron, as a god of death, represents the final challenge for them to overcome. The problem is that A, it still comes out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and B, it completely steals the spotlight away from Kuja, our main villain, who was doing the whole thing just fine on his own.
That really
It's not like
does
it would
just
be
make it
difficult to
complete
fix
crap.
either. How about actually alluding to Necron's presence in the storyline? Like, every now and then you get glimpses of some greater force at work. Or maybe when it gets mentioned to Kuja, you see him legitimately afraid. That way, when Necron shows up, it's the culmination of a whole game's worth of foreshadowing. Or better
Yeah.
yet, remove him entirely. How could you be
Both
so
will.
appalled
Both
by the
will
fact
walk.
that the heroes could beat him that he loses the last remnants of his sanity and tries to end all of existence with Ultima? Then have Necron instead be the embodiment of Kuja's despair and nihilism. We
Oop.
could still have the fight be
Hold on. It's doing that again. Let's go. I think we got an ad
the
coming
same,
up.
just change a bit of the story elements. With all that said, Trans Kuja and Necron aren't number one since the fight with the latter isn't bad, as long as you don't get too unlucky with Grand Cross, which is far more than I can say for number one.
Honorable mention.
Manaka overshadowing Big Bang Monokuma from Danganronpa Ultra Despair Girls. Would have been nice to have a well-written mastermind as the final baddie instead of frickin' Junko again. Osborne overshadowing Ishmael Galog from Trails of Cold Steel 4. Have a major
Okay,
villain
that's
built up
kinda
for
cool.
6 games, and he turns out to be not the main villain in the last one. That's always fun. Zephiel overshadowing Adun from Fire Emblem Blinding Blade. The King of Burn is pretty much the only challenging boss left after Roy actually becomes usable. Giant Bowser / Phantasma overshadowing Dreamy Bowser from Dream Team.
Oh,
It's
I
a
love
creative
that
finale,
game.
but looking at how grandiose the previous fights were and how this one goes down to like 4
Could've
turns
been better.
tops,
Yeah,
I
could've
kinda
been
expected
better.
more.
And here we go. On to number 1. Oop. Hold on. I'm gonna do another cut. Alright, let's try to finish off this vid.
Go
number
on.
1.
Guess. Guess what's number one. It's not like this boss became a meme for being one of the most disappointing final bosses of all time. Go on. Guess.
Oh, him!
Oh, what a surprise! Jasper Bat Jr. has been the butt of so
Jasper.
many worse
Yeah,
or
that's
disappointing
right.
boss lists that he should legally change his name to Jasper Butt Jr. Wait, no, this is serious. I'm an adult. Wait, this is a Suda 51 game. I might need an adult. Where's Alice?
Show me your passion. Release me from this cycle. Free us all in a crimson sea.
Right, Suda 51 game. Everyone's weird and blood horny. Anyways, there are a couple reasons that these two are here. And it's literally the rules of this list. Alice has a fantastic fight, and Jasper sucks. Alice
Yeah, you
is a
can kill
multi-saber
Jasper with
duel
your eyes
between two
closed.
warriors who have nothing left to lose. Alice is a cool-headed fighter who just wants to know how to leave the assassin life, and Travis is a hothead who is moments away from exploding, realizing his crusade for revenge is as pointless as the entire assassin rankings themselves. Their fight combines
Jeez.
all the best cliches of samurai movies, character action games, and anime into a single duel that's only beaten by, I don't know, Ryden and Armstrong maybe. And at the end of the fight, Travis
that's
hits his
something.
boiling point, releasing all of his frustration onto Sylvia and tears into her about the whole system she runs. If the game ended here, that would have been an amazing ending. It would have easily hit the point they were trying to make home. But
Yeah,
the next
would've been
cutscene
amazing.
happens, Travis sleeps with Sylvia, and decides to co-kill Jasper anyways. Cue boring final level and a super frustrating final boss. You know the drill. First phase, Bowser Jr. car, have fun not getting run over. Phase 2,
Easy
fake
kill.
superhero, and it's the worst part. At least we got No More Heroes 3 with their actual good superheroes.
Super
and
easy
phase
kill.
3, parade float. How parade float? Why Parade Float? And on top of
Do I
that,
even
all
have
of these
to say
forms
it?
are known for having hard to avoid attacks that can stun lock you and eventually kill you if you aren't careful. Ugh, I'm getting a headache just from talking about this guy again. I'm gonna skip the part about what this fight means in the community and the symbolism behind it because there are a ton of video essays about it and none of them matters because it doesn't excuse this boss.
Look at that. And
Ours was an absolutely fantastic fight and we didn't deserve this BS we got at the end. If there was any game or boss to leave a bad taste in your mouth, it's this one. Thank Glob No More Heroes 3 was better.
I'm the Fiery Joker, and I have a giant urge to finally do a positive boss list again.
Oh, what's next?
Hey, they can't all be subtle.
God.
I guess maybe next time we're just going to do the top 10 good bosses. Or something like that. Well, anyway, folks, that is where we're going to end off today's video. I want you all to remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Down in the description will be a link to the original video, so remember to support the original creator and all he does. And I'll see all of you folks next time when we flick on. Stay toasty, my cubs.